Hey, folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to a special Friday edition of the Watchman Newscast live stream. And, folks, what a way to head into the weekend. Not a very pleasant way for Hezbollah. Let's just say that Iran's top terror proxy, the crown jewel of Iran's proxies, of Iran's ring of fire, has seen its world officially shook over the past 4 days. And the latest round came today. I mean, absolutely, again, we've maybe overused this word this week, stunning, but Israel with an airstrike in Dahia, in the southern suburbs of Beirut, the Lebanese capital, took out Hezbollah, not only Hezbollah's top overall commander today, folks, Ibrahim Aqil, but also at least 14 other top commanders in Hezbollah's elite Radwan unit. Now, you've heard us talk about the Radwan unit over the months. This, again, they're the creme de la creme for Hezbollah, very involved along the Israel-Lebanon border in plotting not only rocket attacks, but planning an invasion of the Galilee, which apparently, according to the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, Ibrahim Aqil and his minions that he was meeting with, they were in the process when they were killed today of doing exactly that, planning an invasion of the Galilee region of Israel. Now, we know Israel was behind this. There's no confusion this time because it was one of those rare instances today, Friday, September 20th, this happened just a few hours ago, that Israel, yes, claimed responsibility. They said, we took out Ibrahim Aqil and several other top commanders in Hezbollah, in the Radwan unit, and they were all gathered. This is very interesting, folks, and this tells you the extent of the damage that was done earlier this week with Operation Exploding Pager on Tuesday and its sequel on Wednesday, where some 3,000 at least Hezbollah operatives were injured, and at least 35 killed when their handheld devices literally blew up in their faces simultaneously across Lebanon and Syria, or on their belt or in their pocket. And you have to wonder, it doesn't seem very wise, right, that Hezbollah leadership, essentially, their military leadership, their brain trust, was all meeting together in the same place today when Israel carried out these airstrikes just south of Beirut and Dahia. They were underneath a residential building in a basement, but they were all together. And you have to wonder that, why would they take it? The only word I can describe is reckless, right, on the part of Hezbollah, which in years past has been known for its discipline. Remember this, Hezbollah is not some ragtag terror group. This is a highly disciplined, highly trained, highly organized, well-funded, well-armed terrorist paramilitary force. Big difference, folks. Listen, they are more well-armed and more powerful than many militaries, conventional militaries in the Middle East, including, I may add, the Lebanese armed forces. And Hezbollah controls with an iron fist the southern portion of Lebanon, not to mention those suburbs around Beirut. This is a different beast entirely. They don't take stupid chances. They are patient, and they've been disciplined. I'm sad to say all of this, but it's a fact. It's a formidable foe, no doubt, for Israel and for the free world. But they're so rattled, I think, after the events of the past 3 days. Hey, let's review them. I mentioned Operation Exploding Pager and its sequel on Wednesday. Yesterday, massive airstrikes across Lebanon against Hezbollah positions. And now today, but by the time we got to today, after the past 3 days, Hezbollah in desperation meeting in the same place. Why? There's no means to communicate, essentially, right? How are they communicating right now? Carrier pigeon? Because if you're Hezbollah right now, you're looking under every nook and cranny. You're not running the vacuum cleaner or microwaving your coffee because you're afraid it's going to explode in your face. That's a kind of psychological impact and physical impact these covert, daring Israeli intelligence operations had earlier this week. So they're forced to meet in person, and unfortunately for them, they all met together in one spot, and this came together quickly, reportedly, folks, in a few hours before Israel carried out the strike. By the way, I'm mentioning what happened on Tuesday, Wednesday, and yesterday. You might be saying, hey, I missed it. What happened? Well, if you miss any of our newscasts, any of our live streams, simply go to our homepage right here on YouTube, and they're all right there, right under newscast. Anything you missed, every video is there that we've ever done, I believe, including all this week, so you can get caught up. Hey, while you're there, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. We would love to have you here with us every single day as watchmen and women on the wall for such a time as this. Hey, some 72%, this is a crazy statistic, folks. A side note, some 72% of our regular viewers, people watching faithfully every day, are not subscribed. I don't know why, but it seems to be a fact there. So we'd love for you to make it official and subscribe. And the reason we ask that is not for our glory, but we want the message to get out there in these upside down times where good is called evil and evil is called good, Bible times, prophetic times. We want to reach the maximum amount of viewers with this truth, this unapologetically biblical truth, and cut through the clutter. You subscribing helps us to do that and helps YouTube to recommend the video to more people. And that's a good thing because, again, in these times of seemingly universal deceit, there's really a premium on truth. And we try to bring that every day from the world's most chaotic and volatile region, the Middle East, and why it impacts you no matter where you live. A bit more about this operation today. I'll tell you more about who Ibrahim Aqil was in a second. One of the biggest fish that Israel has ever eliminated when it comes to Hezbollah, certainly since October 8th, when hostilities with Hezbollah broke out. Courtesy of Hezbollah, helpful reminder, if you're weeping any crocodile tears over the demise of the Radwan commanders today, remember that on October 8th, the day after the October 7th massacre, nearly 1 year ago, Hezbollah unilaterally began firing rockets, missiles, drones, and mortars at Israel. Israel did nothing to provoke it. Israel was attacked unilaterally by Hezbollah. This is all a response by Israel, a response to being attacked on a daily basis. Over 8,000 Hezbollah projectiles have been launched at Israel since October 8th of 2023. And that has led to some 80,000 Israeli residents of northern Israel, those beautiful communities there along the Lebanon border, being evacuated from their homes. I say all that to say, this is what we've seen this week is the very long overdue punishing response that, I expected from Israel months ago when it came to Hezbollah. The reasons we haven't seen it, and we're seeing it now big time, obviously, but the reason we didn't see it in months past, number one, Israel didn't want to fight two major wars on two fronts while the Gaza war is raging. I get it. But number two, the Biden administration has been tying Israel's hands to the point where the Biden administration has told Israel, don't strike in Beirut. And that's why you've seen so few attacks in Beirut. Today, what happened? The strike in Beirut. And a few weeks ago, when Israel took out Fuad Shukr in late July, I believe it was July 31st, that was also in Beirut. This was rare. They took out Saleh al-Aruri. So these have been rare strikes in Beirut because the Biden administration is saying, well, Beirut's a red line. You're going to escalate things. I'm sorry, but I think Hezbollah escalated things on October 8th, 2023, when, again, they kicked off a war with Israel. They attacked Israel. It was not the other way around. More about today's operation and the demise of Ibrahim Aqil. This came together again. Some great information from folks, a great X handle you need to follow, Israel Radar. I believe it's at Israel Radar. Excellent on X, but they've got some good details here. The strike operation today was planned within hours after the IDF spotted a unique opportunity to eliminate high-ranking terror chiefs all gathered together. The intel indicated that Hezbollah military chief Aqil and top commanders were hiding in an underground apartment below a residential building in Dahia, the southern suburbs of Beirut. IDF chief and political leaders, both the military and Bibi and his cabinet, were in lockstep on this. They quickly approved the attack. The Israeli Air Force rapidly finalized a strike plan, despite the complexity of the target, hitting with deadly precision. I would say so. They were hiding among Lebanese civilians, of course, using them as human shields. This is the MO of terror groups. And the word is various numbers. Ibrahim Aqil and who he was in a second. Let's unpack that. By the way, he was wanted by the United States, had a $7 million bounty on his head from the United States. Why? You're going to want to hear this. Now, I wonder if Israel's going to cash in on that $7 million. I doubt that's going to be supplied, but I digress. But we're hearing between 10, I've heard 14. Now we're hearing 20 commanders were killed, Hezbollah commanders, in this strike. Man, oh man. Following the events of Tuesday, Wednesday, the death and dismemberment and disablement of many top Hezbollah commanders. And then yesterday, Hezbollah rocket launch sites taken out. Then today, I said at the top, Hezbollah's world is shook. And more on Ibrahim Aqil in a second. And what comes next? Why did the U.S. want him so badly? And Hezbollah's got to respond, right? And its master, Iran's got to respond, right? And that ring of fire that surrounds Israel on all sides. The problem for them is Hezbollah is absolutely reeling right now in disarray. Heavy blows have been levied over the past few days. That's first. Secondly, Gaza, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, no longer reliable rings on that Iranian ring of fire. Don't expect much coming from Gaza. You've got the Houthis in Yemen. You've got the Shia militias in Iraq and Syria. You've got the Assad regime in Syria, and you've got Iran itself. Rest assured, eventually, we don't know when, they're going to try something in an attempt to save face, a revenge attack. Hey, Iran's still licking its wounds and smarting from the death of Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas terror chief in Tehran under the Iranian regime's noses back on July 31st. They've got to do something eventually. But will Israel preempt that? Because Israel Radar are the X account, that I quoted earlier. And again, they're former Israeli intelligence officers, I believe. They do great work at Israel Radar on X. But they said, look, Israel's going to strike preemptively. The moment they see the rockets being put on the launchers, they're going to strike. And it's going to be disproportionate. No longer will Israel allow Hezbollah to set the rules of the game. And folks, Yair Pinto, our good friend from TBN Israel, follow him on YouTube at TBN Israel. Subscribe to his channel here. Yair told us about a month ago. He was here in Dallas with me in Texas for Stakelbeck Tonight, my nightly show on TBN. And he said, Erick, I can tell you that the moment Iran is ready to launch, one rocket leaves a launcher, the IDF is going to strike with overwhelming force. That seems to be the new doctrine of the IDF. Either strike preemptively before the rockets get a chance to go airborne, or as soon as one rocket goes airborne, strike with overwhelming deterrent lethal force. And folks, it's never been more paramount for Israel to do that. Israel's not playing games, clearly, because the main goal here, destroy Hezbollah or cripple Hezbollah, yes, but the main goal, return the residents of the north to their homes. Again, some say 60,000, some say 100,000. Let's meet in the middle and say 80,000 at least. Residents of those beautiful communities like Kiryat Shimona, like Metula near the Lebanon border. For the better part of a year, they've been living out of suitcases in hotels scattered across Israel. I was in Israel in February. I can tell you the north was a ghost town. It's even worse now than it was in February. And I can tell you the hotel I was staying in the Galilee, that very region that Ibrahim Aqil wanted to invade before he was killed today, most of the people in my hotel in Tiberias were from the north, evacuated from their homes, and their homes have been destroyed. That's why it's so important for us here on the channel to partner with great Israeli organizations who are doing God's work and helping Israel's most vulnerable. Our sponsor today, our dear friends at Meir Panim. It is israelcharity.org. .org. I apologize. IsraelCharity.org. I always mix up the orgs and the coms. I'm glad there's no nets anymore. Remember you had .net? IsraelCharity.org. If you watch this show on a regular basis, you know how we feel about Mayor Panim. This is an organization I've been on the ground with, shoulder to shoulder in Israel, helping to feed Holocaust survivors. It doesn't get any more powerful and moving than that. And Mayor Panim runs incredible soup kitchens throughout the land of Israel. You might say, well, a soup kitchen. You might have an image in your mind. Folks, these are top-notch facilities with top-notch food and materials, beautiful facilities for people to feel like they are at home. No one does it better than Mayor Panim. They're assisting Holocaust survivors. They're assisting the impoverished in Israel, and they're doing it now as the high holidays are upon us nearly, starting October 2nd. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, along with Passover, the most important time of the year for the people of Israel, and a beleaguered time with war on possibly multiple fronts now looming. This is the time of Israel's greatest need. That's why Mayor Panim is stepping up. Some numbers for you. Look, to give you an idea of what Israel's dealing with. And by the way, Israel's a nation the size of the state of New Jersey. It can't afford to have entire regions evacuated for a year, but that's where we're at. 100,000 displaced families trying to rebuild their lives in Israel. 100,000 reservists leaving their families, called up to fight with the IDF to defend Israel. 2.6 million Israelis living in poverty. 1 in 3 Holocaust survivors living in poverty right now. Folks, this can't stand. And that's why Mayor Panim, God bless them, rolling up their sleeves, and they are there in the trenches with Israel's most vulnerable. 30,000 pantry boxes they're delivering these high holidays. 30,000 filled with symbolic holiday foods like apples, honey, and challah bread. 2 million shekels worth of prepaid grocery cards for families who can shop for their own holiday meals, give them some dignity there. 25,000 holiday meals and care packages delivered to displaced families, Holocaust survivors, and IDF soldiers on the front lines. It's IsraelCharity.org, IsraelCharity.org. We only partner with organizations here on the channel that are blessing Israel and blessing the kingdom of God and the body of Christ. Mayor Panim is doing that and so much more. Check him out, IsraelCharity.org. And check out this resume, if you can call it that, for one Ibrahim Aqil. Now, folks, I want to pull this up real quick. We knew about his long history of bloodshed against Israel and the Jewish people. That was well documented. Again, if you're just joining us, Hezbollah's top commander eliminated today, September 20th, in a strike in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Not only that, at least 10, perhaps as many as 20 of his fellow Hezbollah Radwan Force commanders also eliminated in these Israeli airstrikes. Precise, calculated. Here's a little bit more about Aqil. Top kingpin, the head of Hezbollah's Jihad Council. And by the way, jihad means holy war, not peaceful striving, as some apologists in the West would have you believe. Top military commander, head of the Jihad Council, and was in the process of planning an invasion of northern Israel. I've been telling you for months, why must Hezbollah be crushed, or in the very least pushed back 18 miles beyond the Litani River, 18 miles from that Israel-Lebanon border, beyond the Litani River in Lebanon? Why? Because they want to duplicate October 7th, but not only duplicate it, they want to exceed it by many magnitudes, and they have the capability to do just that. There's Hamas, then there's Hezbollah. It's 2 different levels. And Hezbollah is a much more powerful beast, and I do mean beast. But Aqil was involved in all of that when it came to Israel. And Israel, look, folks, averted a major disaster here. They were planning incursions into the north, an invasion, and you've seen me here on the Watchman. In months previous, we posted videos. I've been in those Hezbollah tunnels. At least 6 or 7 of those tunnels were uncovered a few years ago. The IDF kept one open for the world to see what Israel's dealing with. I was in that tunnel. It descended some 200 feet beneath the ground. Seemingly, it's like you're walking into the bowels of hell. And they were concrete in there, phones, electrical work done. These were high-tech tunnels. It wasn't some little kid digging dirt and picking out worms in the backyard of his house. These were some serious tunnels. And God forbid, but there's a chance that Israel didn't discover all of them. And you have to think they would play a part in any kind of land invasion by Hezbollah. When I say invasion, it's more probably an incursion. It's an invasion, yes, but it's not going to be 1,000 tanks rolling across the border. Hezbollah doesn't have those capabilities, but they have many other capabilities. Nonetheless, Aqil, why did the U.S. want him? I mentioned earlier a $7 million price tag on his head. So why did the U.S. want him so badly? Why is he one of the most wanted men really in the world? Well, he had a role in masterminding the Beirut bombing at the American embassy in Lebanon in April 1983, which killed 63 people. He had a major role in that, as did Fuad Shukr, who was eliminated back on July 31st. So that's one. Number two, he was also involved in planning and masterminding the infamous U.S. Marine barracks bombing in October of 1983, 243 brave U.S. Marines killed in that attack. So this guy had loads of American blood on his hands. He was also involved in the taking of American and German hostages in Lebanon in the 1980s. And here's a helpful reminder, and he was a key player in this, folks. Prior to 9/11, Hezbollah had more American blood, I'm speaking to you as an American, more American blood on its hands than any other terror organization. Now, Al-Qaeda obviously exceeded that greatly, sadly, on 9/11, exceeded that number. But before 9/11, Hezbollah had killed more Americans than any other terror organization. And Ibrahim Aqil was right at the center of that. So the U.S. had a $7 million bounty on his head. They should be thanking the Biden administration, thanking Israel. Instead, what you will likely hear, and what you heard yesterday from Anthony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, is, oh my word, you're escalating things. Please, we don't want to see escalation. We don't want to see an all-out war. Stop escalating Israel. Behave yourselves. If you just appease Hezbollah, they'll leave you alone. No, they won't. And that's the fatal flaw of this administration in D.C. right now. You're appeasing terror left and right and saying, well, you know, if we don't nudge Iran, Iran won't do anything to us. And the opposite is true. You're emboldening them and empowering them, and they're emboldened to push a little deeper, and the next time a little deeper, strike a little harder. And Israel's finally said enough is enough. The gloves are off. We must return the residents to the north. It is non-negotiable. And we can't do that through just some targeted airstrikes alone. Even airstrikes that wipe out commanders. Even an incredible intelligence operation, like we saw on Tuesday, Wednesday, Operation Exploding Pager. Some have called it Operation Below the Belt because these pagers, and hey, I grew up in Northeast Philly in the 90s. The last time pagers were widely used, I think, was probably in the 90s before the cell phone area really dawned. We called them beepers, and guys and gals in the neighborhood had them many times for nefarious reasons. But I digress. It was interesting, nonetheless, to see pagers so widespread as we saw in the clutches, the claws of Hezbollah this week. But that's how they were communicating, also through walkie-talkies. That's all done now. And I'm not quite sure how, again, maybe send a Raven or a carrier pigeon. I'm not quite sure. Pony Express. I'm not quite sure how they're communicating right now. And again, perhaps that's why you saw such a large gathering of them very unwisely all in one place. Israeli intelligence and the IDF, their eyes must have lit up. They've all gathered in this one place. They're sitting ducks, so to speak. And there you have it. But what happens now? And no one knows. But the gloves are off. Israel, blow after blow after blow over the past 4 days. I mean, how Hezbollah, look, fired 200 rockets in the past 24 hours. That continues unabated. Some 200 rockets fired at northern Israel. But folks, they've backed themselves into a big, big corner here. Okay, on one hand, they have to retaliate. And by the way, this may be, before we talk about that, this may be the last 4 days, a case of Israel softening Hezbollah up. I've been talking here. It's breaking news. I'm trying to get all the details in. What do you think? We've got such a great educated viewership. Is this a case? I've been asking this question over the past few days. Is this a case of Israel loosening things up, softening things up? And, it's interesting. I said here in the newscast on Tuesday, Wednesday, man, Hezbollah's down and they're not out, but man, they're down. They're hurting right now. They're in disarray. It seems like the perfect time for Israel to move in. And if you're going to invade on the ground, if the only way to really, I mentioned this a minute ago, to really accomplish your goals is to invade on the ground. Airstrikes and intelligence operations, as daring and stunning and effective as they may be, will not ultimately cripple Hezbollah and enable the residents of the north to return home. That can only be done through a ground invasion. No one wants to see it, but it's plain common sense. If you don't do it, you're going to have 80,000 Israelis evacuated indefinitely. And that's a non-starter for Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu has made that abundantly clear this week. It's just like suddenly something clicked and the gloves are just completely off now. And the IDF now, it's like, okay, if they would have invaded, say, Tuesday, Wednesday, they wouldn't have taken out Aqil and these top Radwan commanders. Now, and the airstrikes yesterday, which took out a number of Hezbollah rocket launchers, massive airstrikes throughout Lebanon, some of the biggest we've seen since October 8th. So the timing, it's interesting. Every day, it's bit by bit by bit, laying the groundwork for that possible great northern war, that invasion. But when we talk about Hezbollah retaliation, listen, Hezbollah has backed themselves into a corner here. And from hospital beds throughout Lebanon and Syria, wounded Hezbollah jihadis with gaping holes in their bodies are cursing Hassan Nasrallah. And perhaps even more than that, they're cursing the Iranian regime. Because Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, overall leader, he ultimately answers to his masters in Tehran. And the puppet masters in Tehran are calling the shots here. Not only in Lebanon, but in Yemen with the Houthis. They were in Gaza with Hamas and Islamic Jihad, in Iraq with the militias there, in Syria with Assad and the various militias there. And they've gotten Hezbollah into something that is not easy to get out of, because Hassan Nasrallah has vowed, and yesterday he gave that speech in Beirut where he vowed once again, we're not going to stop attacking Israel until the Gaza war ends. There's a ceasefire. Israel pulls out. We've thrown in our lot with our brothers in Hamas, and we can't back down now because then we'd look weak. Crucial strategic and tactical mistake. Now they're stuck. And a fatal mistake. Hamas made a fatal mistake on October 7th. For their day of glory, carrying out a mini Holocaust against the Jewish people. Their reward for that is the demise, the destruction of their organization. And I believe Hezbollah made a similar mistake on October 8th. This is not going well for Hezbollah, and they know it's not going well. And they know they need to retaliate. But they know if they retaliate in a major way, say, God forbid, striking Israeli civilian centers, that Israel will respond by unleashing hell. And not even responding. Israel may preemptively strike before like they did 2.5 weeks ago with massive strikes, like they did yesterday, before Hezbollah even has a chance to get the projectiles into the air. So Hezbollah is in quite a predicament, weakened severely, limping, confused, in disarray, scared, paranoid. Yet they have to retaliate, right? But yet if they do retaliate, it can't just be rockets at the Galilee or rockets at the north. Sadly, we've seen that for a year. Nothing new under the jihadi sun in that case. So major crippling blows over the past 4 days. You would think would require on their end major crippling blows in return. Here's the deal. If they attempt something like that, Israel, again, will unleash hell. It could mean the end of Hezbollah. So what are they going to do? They've got a tough decision to make, and I can't say I feel bad for them, needless to say. And what about Iran? Look, Hezbollah is the crown jewel of all of Iran's proxies. That Iranian ring of fire, Hezbollah is it. It was bad enough to lose Gaza, which had been a persistent thorn in Israel's side for years. Now that's by the wayside. IDF has gone to work and crushed Hamas capabilities in Gaza and Islamic Jihad, the other Iranian proxy there. But Hezbollah, too big to fail. Iran has so much riding on Hezbollah. Chiefly, Hezbollah was Iran's insurance policy. If and when Israel strikes Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran's main point of response and reprisal would have been to activate Hezbollah against Israel. And if Hezbollah is in the process of being crushed, does Iran get involved directly? If Hezbollah is too big to fail for the Iranian regime and the Iranian regime's overall plans for the region, I leave you with this question. Does Iran get involved directly here to bail Hezbollah out and try to salvage their crown jewel? What do you think? I want to hear your thoughts on that. But look, we're heading into a very perhaps tumultuous, active weekend in the world's most chaotic and strategic region. What happens in the Middle East does not stay in the Middle East. And that is why, if anything happens this weekend, we will be coming to you live. So make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell. You will get alerts. Hey, Stacks is going live, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. You'll know that I'm coming to you live with the kind of message I think that is very relevant for such a time as this. So make sure to join us over the weekend if, and I'm no guarantee, but if something happens, we're coming to you. Keep it all in prayer. You know, pray for that divine Iron Dome over Israel, a divine hedge of protection. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, because folks, we're heading in, this thing is, they were calling this Northern War low intensity. Well, it's getting pretty darn intense right now. Keep it all in prayer. God is on the throne. And I was reminded again, I remind you, Psalm 2, someone quoted it to me this morning. God sees all of this unfolding, the plots, the schemes, invade the Galilee, all the rest, and he laughs. Psalms 2 says he laughs. So be encouraged by that. Take heart until tomorrow, or let's see, Sunday, who knows. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.